honorable members on the dais, students, and well-wishers. It's really an honor and a privilege for me to be here. 27 years ago, I was here as one of a student and have been extremely privileged to have had this great institution nurture and shape the way my career went. I'll share a couple of minutes about a little bit about my career, just to make a few points. One was that while I had an engineering degree that at that point in time, 25 years ago, was probably sufficient to, particularly in computer science, was sufficient to launch a career. I'm thankful that I decided to, get an MBA from, or a PGDM as it was called then, from IIM Bangalore. What it provided me was a sense of humbleness, humility. I thought I was the topper in a university. I came from, a place where I was always beating everybody, and all of a sudden, everybody else around me was pretty much the same. So my first lesson was humility. During my career, I've had, I was very fortunate. By the way, I was one of those, you learn as part of supply chain. I'm still a non-moving item. I've stayed with the same company for 25 years. But what I learned, I moved across different parts of the world. I've been in Singapore, in Tokyo, in New York, and so on, in different roles in finance and operations and so on. But in all of this, I've been always focused on trying to learn something. And what I'll share with you are a few of the lessons that I've learned along my journey. Okay. First, attitude makes all the difference. While an exceptional level of education and past work experience may help you, attitude always trumps everything else. So while you can flash your degree once you're done from here, don't lose the right attitude. Secondly, you will all probably, for those of you who get into the managerial line, as leaders, please make sure you invest your time in identifying the strengths of your team and leveraging on those strengths. Working with an outstanding team makes much more of a positive difference than working with outstanding individuals. Face tough decisions head on. Make sure you can deal with the consequences. If you delay things out because it's uncomfortable, it just gets worse later. So you're better off nipping things in the bud, maybe hard to do, but deal with things as and when you get to them. Take time to strategize and put in place a long-term work plan that will pay you rich dividends. There is no substitute for planning. We often think, jugaad is the way. People have written books about it, but it's very important to make sure you plan. You can still involve jugaad in your work plan, but make sure you have a plan. Spend at least a third of your time on people issues and networking. The returns are much higher than spending time in managing tasks. Make sure, especially when you're here, and I'll come to specifically what to do when you're here in a bit. Spend time with your family and friends, Sir alluded to that, and your community. Make sure you balance your work and everything else. Life is not just about work. Life is not just about the career, but you've got to balance everything that you go along. And leadership does not come from a title or a designation. It's bestowed on you when you deliver results, and most importantly, when you establish trust. So it's a long journey. It's not something that you get by entering a job or having a visiting card which says something. So these are some of the few things that I've learned, during my career journey. Let me just now flip and give you a little bit about what I have seen of some successful leaders and what traits they have used. There's obviously a little bit of overlap with what I said earlier. Firstly, I think successful leaders, they invest for the long term. Given the rate and pace of change that we're seeing in our environment, particularly in your world, things often take longer than anticipated, but you want results immediately. You need to make sure that you ensure your skills are aligned for what it takes to succeed. And as individuals, I would urge you to volunteer for tough jobs, tough roles, tough things, because that's where you learn the most. That's what builds the muscle in your managerial capability. So I mentioned this. Number 2 on my list is operate with integrity. There are enough and more stories of great, outstanding people with great acumen, great capability, who have fallen afoul when they kind of took the shortcut. So please don't take the shortcut. Make sure you establish the right core value systems and take visible action when you see anything going astray. In the business world, unfortunately, lots of ugly things happen. You've got to deal with them and make sure that you deal with integrity in everything you do. Shortcuts never run and work out in the long run. Performance. Performance is king. You're as good, as they say in the corporate world, you're as good as your last quarter. So you've got to make sure that you keep your performance up. Your reputation stays with you all through your career, but you've got to keep performing in whatever you do. Empowering people around you. As a manager, as a leader, that is one of the most important things that you can do. You can be exceptional, you can be outstanding at the work you do, but it's almost an art form to make sure that you get the teams around you working in the most efficient way. You've got to make sure when you need to mentor people, when you need to delegate, what you need to trust, how you combine the various skills of teams. But please, when you're here, make sure that you understand and appreciate that. This is particularly to those 18% who still haven't had work experience. The rest may have at least experienced some of it. It's very important to understand how to empower work and work with teams. And of course, be open to criticism. It's never personal. Whenever somebody gives you some feedback, take it as a gift. You may not like it. It may seem that people are being personal, but in all of those harsh criticisms is usually some pearl of wisdom that you will hopefully be able to work on and improve. So, for the next 2 years, I had a handful of things that I scrolled on in terms of what may be useful. Firstly, chase your dreams with passion, with a drive, with energy, but always with integrity. You may not know whether your aptitude is to finance or to marketing, whatever, but whatever it is, explore. And this is the best place. The cohort you have is just fabulous. The kind of people you will meet are just fabulous. You will be stretched. But I think this is the time for you to chase your dream. The next 2 years will be a miracle of learning in the classroom and, more importantly, outside it. Those assignments, those projects, those things that you need to do with fairly rigorous timelines will stretch you. Sometimes you may think whether you're cut out for it. But believe me, it is that what stays with you is that learning on how you pulled through and you made it work. Make sure you spend every minute on campus learning, observing, doing. Build a network. Your batch, your senior batch, your junior batch. That is a network close to or over 1,200 people perhaps. Even if you know 10% of that, that's a lot of people. In your business over the years, you're going to bump into them, you're going to find business relationships, you're going to find startup capital, you name it. That association, that network, that personal connect that you have is invaluable. Yesterday I saw pictures of classmates of mine who were at the cricket match in UK. Those bonds last for decades. So make sure you work not just on your batch, but the ones that are ahead of you and the ones that will come behind you. Look at this as a unique learning opportunity, but not as a race. You will grow as an individual if you do that. There is always the element of a race, but you need to have the wisdom to make sure that at every point your focus is on growing yourself, The race is with yourself, not with the others. Let me break one myth. Lots of people will tell you about a dream job. So the dream job, in my view, is a myth. Statistics show you that most MBAs who get their dream job leave it within a year. So don't worry about it. Don't get into that race because you want that dream job. It's not worth it. Focus on your skills and your ability to learn, and most importantly, in your generation and in your career, the ability to relearn. The future of technology and businesses are extremely dynamic and becoming even more so. And it will favor those who have the ability to adapt to lifelong learning. So to sum up, you will be challenged, you'll be put under intense pressure, you're going to see competition like you've never seen before. Your workload, I think Sir will introduce you to tomorrow. There will be expectations from neighbors, friends, community. Now that you have the coveted IBM halo on your head, you will have expectations of yourself. At several times, you may wonder whether you can really go through with it. But you will. Trust me, you will. And the trick in that is to make sure that you, as Sir said earlier, engage in some exercise, some yoga, some sport, some extracurricular activities. They will become your anchor. So, in summary, all of you, buckle up your seatbelts. You're going to have a lifetime experience. Enjoy every single moment of it. Thank you.